Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
COVID-19 spiking right now in San Antonio and South Texas.
And this is as people are trying to sort through confusion about recently changed vaccine restrictions.
So who can get the vaccine and who might have more trouble? That's coming up. But first,
we start here with late-breaking news regarding the DWI arrest of District 8 Councilwoman Ivalis Mesa Gonzalez.
On the day before she is set to face a censure vote by the City Council, the District Attorney's Office refiled the case as a DWI offense with a blood alcohol content of more than 0.15. That means she was more than double the legal limit when she was arrested back in July.
Last week, Mayor Gina Ortiz-Jones called for tomorrow's special meeting citing new information, but it's unclear if that new information that she cited about Mesa is specifically about her blood alcohol level. And that censure vote is supposed to take place tomorrow afternoon. Windows and windshields shot at and smashed over and over. This is what business owners over in the medical center say has been their reality every 2 weeks for the last 6 months.
Our Sarah Acosta went to check it out. She says one of the people was caught in the act, and a business owner says that police drive-bys aren't enough.
Caught on camera, this man throwing a rock through the front window of a medical center business, and the owners want to know who he is and whoever else may be responsible for several of their windows being vandalized multiple times over the past 6 months. Here is another video from another business in the same building. This time the vandal peeking inside, then coming back with a bat and striking it.
Becoming frustrating because we're having to call every time, every morning. It's happening more and more often.
Rene Correa and his family own part of the building in the business Bear Care Home Medical off of John Smith, right behind University Hospital. He says they have spent thousands replacing windows. Then there is the empty lot next door.
You think this lot that's overgrown is a problem?
It's definitely a problem. I've seen homeless people in there before.
He believes people staying there overnight might be the vandals. He says he has called 311 for code compliance to come out, but nothing has happened.
The people that might be doing this?
Possibly. Definitely would help if it gets cleaned up.
SAPD has verified that they have gone out there several times. Just take a look how many times within a month. SAPD told us they are aware of the problem and safe officers are routinely patrolling the area. But Correa says it's not enough.
So I have the police records of you guys calling, them coming out, them responding. Do you feel like it's helped at all or no?
At this point, no, I really don't, because it keeps happening over and over. And, we're just not sure what else to do.
Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
Developing tonight, the Bexar County District Attorney's Office will not pursue criminal charges in the case of migrants being flown to Martha's Vineyard.
In September of 2022, nearly 50 migrants from Venezuela were flown from San Antonio to Martha's Vineyard on a charter plane registered out of Florida. At the time, Sheriff Javier Salazar said he believed the migrants were lured from what was then the Migrant Resource Center on San Pedro Avenue, with the understanding they would get jobs and housing if they got on the plane.
His office later charged 2 people with unlawful restraint for the flights. Today, Bexar County DA Joe Gonzalez said that after reviewing documents and witness statements, his office determined that there's not enough evidence to prove guilt, so they won't take on the case.
So just a little over 45 minutes ago, Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar weighed in with a statement reading, quote, "The BCSO is on the right side of history in this case. These people were preyed upon and mistreated based on their race/nationality, and all for the sake of a political statement. It's regrettable that the district attorney feels differently, so I'll defer any questions as to why to his office," end quote. We're learning more today about the San Antonio police officer who shot a 16-year-old boy. SAPD says that boy threw a knife at the officer. Police say Officer Jeffrey Pratt has been placed on administrative leave until further notice, which is department policy. Officer Pratt has been with SAPD for 6 years now. So it all started Monday morning in a Southside neighborhood on West Dixon Avenue. That's not far from Southwest Military Drive and Pleasanton Road. That's where San Antonio Police Chief William McManus says the boy had knives and might have been trying to hurt himself. When 2 officers got there, SAPD says the teen came outside with the knives and, quote, aggressively approached those officers. Police say the officers tried to get the teen to back off before one of them tried using a taser, but it didn't work. and that's when the officer shot the boy in the shoulder and thigh. The teen was taken to a hospital, is expected to be okay. By KSAT's count, this is SAPD's 11th police shooting of the year, including the 3rd in the last 17 days.
Awful news now rocking the political world. Conservative political activist Charlie Kirk is dead. He was shot this afternoon at an event at Utah Valley University. To be clear, at this point, authorities have not caught the shooter. They actually took somebody into custody after the event, but now they're saying that that person that they took into custody was not the shooter. Kirk was the co-founder of Turning Point USA, a nonprofit that pushes for conservative politics on high school and college campuses. He was 31 years old and leaves behind his wife and 2 children.
Following staffing shakeups in Mayor Gina Ortiz Jones' office, she is now using an outside media consultant.
The price tag here? $10,000 a month. KSAT Investigates' Dillian Collier has the story.
Internal city records obtained by our investigative team show that late last month, Frontwood Strategies, a Washington, D.C. communications firm, and the city of San Antonio signed a contract to provide Mayor Jones outside media help through the end of October for up to $30,000. An Austin-based specialist who is from San Antonio is now embedded in Jones's office. The proposal calls for her to get ahead of future stories about the mayor, book a friendly interview on a local morning show for the mayor to lay out her vision for the city and the status of Project Marvel, and to explain the mayor's role in the budget process. In a statement, Mayor Jones told us this will bridge the gap while she continues the process of getting dedicated communication support for her office. Dylan Collier, KSAT 12 News.
This contract that we're talking about actually came up this afternoon at the City Council budget work session.
And the mayor defended it in what proved to be a testy exchange with District 10 Councilman Mark White.
So City Hall reporter Garrett Berger was there for that meeting, and Garrett explained to us how did it come up?
Well, today's work session is kind of the wrap-up of the budget season as council members got the last of the presentations on employee compensation in some of the smaller city departments before next week they start getting into the exact changes they want to make to the proposed $4 billion spending plan. But as Myra mentioned, this came up during the discussion portion when council members had a chance to ask questions of staff. Now, Mark White, who's one of the mayor's biggest adversaries on the council, brought up the KSAT Investigates story. As he began to ask the city manager about it, the mayor cut in, saying it was her contract and that it was comms support that was being provided at the same level of pay as what other mayors have had.
So same level of support, same level of funding, and it's a bridge until we can bring someone full-time on.
Okay, and so it's $10,000 a month?
In line with what previous mayors have paid for their own comms support, Councilman. That's correct. If you'd like to provide that, I think the C&E folks can, or HR can provide that for you.
You want me to ask them?
You asked me, I answered your question. If you'd like historical information about what others have been paid, you can be provided that. And I'm telling you who would provide it for you, Councilman.
Okay, I'm on it.
Jones' first chief of staff had also served as immediate contact, but left just a few weeks into the mayor's term. Now, another spokesman for the mayor lasted only about a week and a half before being transferred back to a city department. Coincidentally, the consultant at the heart of this story was the one to confirm for us that the mayor is losing another staffer. In an email today, she confirmed that the event services director, Rory Vance, had resigned. Now, according to Vance's LinkedIn profile, he had also been involved in Jones's campaign. We reached him by phone, but he declined to comment. Live outside City Hall, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
All right, Garrett, thank you. A fentanyl bust and a man in law enforcement custody now. It's the result of a joint raid by the Bexar County Sheriff's Office and the DEA in far west Bexar County. This happened early Tuesday morning at a home off of Millbrook Way and Gristmill Way, west of 211. BCSO deputies were looking for 30-year-old Delarnus McGee, who's been in trouble with the law in the past. When deputies found him, they also found the fentanyl. BCSO says 32 grams were discovered in his possession. So for comparison here, a lethal dose is only 2 milligrams.
32 grams of fentanyl, could easily fit in the palm of your hand. But when you look at that and go, literally, that could kill thousands of people if it gets into the wrong hands.
Coming up at 6:30, what makes fentanyl so dangerous? We head to the DEA lab in Dallas to find out, and a KSAT explains.
Now let's talk about COVID. Yeah, we're going to talk about it again because it's not just circulating in our community, it's actually surging. Doctors call it the summer surge, and San Antonio seems to be passing the peak. This is coming as the FDA released new restrictions on who's going to be able to get a COVID vaccine this year. Courtney Friedman found out about the current COVID strain and also what you should do if you want a vaccine, but also don't fall within the criteria.
If you've been hit with COVID recently, you're not alone. It's the summer surge with a new strain nicknamed Nimbus.
Having symptoms they say is a really severe flu, muscle aches, sore throat, cough, feeling really fatigued even after they've gotten past the COVID. It takes a while to get back to normal.
Not just a regular cold. University Hospital infectious disease Dr. Jason Bowling says you can still get long COVID, even if it's a mild case.
That's one of the reasons many people get COVID vaccines every year. But this year, the FDA just handed down some new vaccine restrictions. In years past, anyone 6 months or older could get the vaccine. Now it's reserved for people 65 or older or people with conditions that make them high risk. So what does that mean for everyone else? That's a good question. One that doctors, pharmacists, and even insurance companies are wondering.
Recommendations about how the distribution of vaccines works normally comes from an advisory committee and the CDC.
There have been a lot of changes to the CDC and this advisory group, this ACIP group as well. So all 17 pre-existing members of the ACIP were removed from that board and replaced with 9 new members. The CDC has had a lot of layoffs as well. So there have been significant changes, which explains some of the delays in that timeline.
So right now, without that clarity, there's one universal piece of advice.
I think anybody that wants the COVID vaccine should talk to their doctor to see about getting it. And doctors can prescribe things off-label as well. And so your physician can be your advocate, sort out for you.
Talk to your doctor, but also we're paying attention and looking to see what those recommendations actually mean.
That's right. And we should get more information in the next couple of weeks.
Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
Let's take a look at how the 6 o'clock commute is shaping up out there. We're going to take you to the TransGuide camera here at I-10 and Frio. You can see the right side of your screen, that traffic that's backing up heading into downtown. Typical for this time of day. We've really seen it kind of ebb and flow ever since 5 o'clock. The lanes in the other direction moving along just fine. Just the normal give and take.
Tomorrow marks 24 years of the attacks of September 11th, and a local event to honor the first responders who died that day is now moving to a new location. We'll tell you where.
Plus, Larry Ramirez gets you caught up with the Cowboys and the Texans ahead of Week 2 in the NFL. That's coming up later in sports.
Same number of steps, but a different venue for tomorrow's event that honors first responders who died on 9/11.
San Antonio's annual stair climb is moving from the Tower of the Americas to the Alamo Dome this year. Katrina Weber tells us the reason for that change and why at least one participant won't notice any difference.
These are our bunker pants. We keep them together with our boots.
Having everything ready to go is vital when Leanna Trejo is saving lives. This time, though, she's gearing up to remember lives lost.
And it is my first time doing the stair climb, so it's something I have looked forward to for a very long while.
The 21-year-old wasn't even born at the time of the terrorist attacks. Still, she'll be one of about a half dozen firefighters from Bexar County Emergency Services District Number 11 taking part in the tribute.
This is around the 60 to 70 steps per minute.
She's been training for months to make the climb in full gear. 110 flights of stairs, the same as in the World Trade Center. It's been a tradition locally for more than a decade, but this year there's a big change. Due to renovations underway at the Tower of the Americas, it's moving into the air-conditioned Alamo Dome.
I think the biggest hesitation was, okay, how can we approximate what you were doing with the tower?
While it was a bit of a last-minute change, Richard Oliver says the Alamo Dome eagerly opened its doors.
These are the events that make the Alamo Dome so special, to be able to host these kind of community events.
While the climbers may not reach the heights they would inside the tower, they'll still put in the paces. They'll climb up and down the steps one section at a time, all around the dome.
I'm sure there'll be a point where my body and my legs do get tired and I will want to give up, but then I have to remember what those that we lost, what they went through.
For Leanna Trejo, it will be unforgettable in many ways. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Now let's take a live look outside. You see it's 92 degrees out there now. You know, with all the news happening today, what's nice is that on the weather front, at least, it's kind of quiet. And that includes also the fact that, you know, we're in peak hurricane season right now and not really much to speak of.
No, it's super quiet out in the Atlantic Basin. And today marks the peak of the hurricane season. So typically you start to see activity ramp up leading up to today. And we did have some in the weeks past, but right now it's very quiet out there. There's just one little ripple in the upper level flow that'll be coming off Africa over the next several days that has a 20% chance of developing into our next tropical cyclone, a tropical depression, tropical storm, potentially even a hurricane. But as of now, that is low end odds. Otherwise, it's quiet. You go to the Pacific, a little more activity, and especially this cluster of storms just south of Mexico has a 90% chance of turning into the next tropical cyclone in the Pacific. And sometimes we can tap in to remnant moisture and rain-making energy from these eastern Pacific tropical systems, but there are no signs that that would happen anytime soon for us. So we did get in on that action last weekend. So quiet in the Atlantic Basin, dry, stable air, bit of wind shear, meaning stronger winds aloft. Wind shear is the change of speed and direction of the wind with height. And hurricanes, they don't like stronger wind aloft. They like it nice and quiet up above them. Also Saharan dust. There's some dust out there that we'll look at 6:45 that does actually impact the development of hurricanes and kind of prevents their strengthening and development. Here's a look at what we have going on right now. Big blue H, see that? Upper level high, big bump, big ridge in the upper level flow, and it's centered right over Texas. That's deflecting all the active weather systems up and around us, and this is really going to be the big player, as we're often accustomed to. This is going to be the big player for at least the next week. It's going to split by this time next week, but that's not going to have a big impact on our rain chances. Now, parts of West Texas, New Mexico, Panhandle of Texas could still get in on some action, but I think closer to home, we're dry and there's a little smidge of hope closer to the Gulf Coast and basically right along the Gulf Coast in a few afternoons ahead. But otherwise, we're looking high and dry. 92, that was our high today. That's the current reading you see on your screen. The average is 91, and we're gonna be running above average in the days ahead. And our mornings are getting warmer as well. We had some 60s in town the past couple of days, some 50s in the hill country. Past few mornings, those days have come to an end. And I actually think odds favor triple digits being a thing of the past and in the rearview mirror for the rest of this year. Now let's look at the number of 100-degree days. We had 20 this year. That's just 2 days above average. Last year we had 27 triple-digit days, and we all remember the infamous summer of 2023. 75 100-degree days. So we've come a long way, and I like to see that downward trend. Right now, 92 at the airport, calm wind outside. Not a bad evening. Actually, humidity is pretty low. Dew points are down in the 50s, but that's going to change overnight. The humidity is going to increase after sunset. By 8 o'clock, 88, 10 o'clock, we're at 80 degrees. Tomorrow morning, right near 70 in town, you get into the hill country, we're talking mid-60s. Bulverde, 66. 64 in Kerrville. Bernie, Comfort, both at 64. Not the 50s of the past few mornings. By noon tomorrow, 86, 95 for the high temperature, and wall-to-wall sunshine throughout the day. No triple digits on the map tomorrow, even down in Laredo, usually a little bit hotter at 98 tomorrow. Del Rio, 94, and Cotulla Dilley, about 97. And then if this isn't the most just rinse and repeat, copy and paste forecast, I don't know what is, but that's what happens when we get the upper level high marked stationed right overhead.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's get to Larry now for what is my favorite story of the day. Larry, the Spurs doing something special in the hill country.
Yeah, and it was even more special because the kids had no idea that the Spurs were going to show up at Ingram-Tomball High School just to help spread a little cheer after those deadly floods in that area. Look at Wimby throwing down the windmill slam dunk. You know the kids love that. We've got more on this. Plus, in the NFL, the Dallas Cowboys, well, they're talking to Jadeveon Clowney because they need some pass rushing help. We got it coming up. This was the scene earlier this afternoon at Ingram Tom Moore High School, where Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs practiced in front of kids from that area as a way to deliver some joy after the Hill Country floods in early July. The kids had no idea the Spurs were showing up, and they went nuts when Wemby and company walked inside the gym. Now, the Spurs held practice in front of kids from Hunt Middle School and Ingram Tom Moore High School before interacting with them. And Kelvin Johnson was happy to be there today, and he smiled just as much as the kids did.
I know for me, for my teammates, we want to just give them something to smile about. You know, whatever they take from this, you know, it means a lot to us. We just want them to take something. Whether it's we got to meet somebody to play for the Spurs, we got to smile, we got to play basketball, we got to play knockout, we got to watch them dunk. You know, all these different things. We got to go play with, shake Vic's hand, whatever it may be. That's what we want them to take from it. It's no certain message, except that we're family and we're all in this together.
We've shown up prior to this as an organization, but we wanted to make sure that the players got here because we knew the kids would be pretty fired up to see them interact with them, as you can hear in there. And so that was the motivation for today, I think, was to allow our players to see, you know, some of the things that happen to this community and to our neighbors, then also to come here and try to put a smile on some of these kids and people's faces.
Mary Rominger will have more on the Spurs' visit to the Hill Country streaming tonight at 7 on KSAT Sports Now. The Dallas Cowboys are hosting defensive end Jadeveon Clowney today. The Houston Texans drafted Clowney #1 overall back in 2014. After spending 4 seasons with Houston, Clowney has since played for Seattle, Tennessee, Cleveland, Baltimore, and finally the Panthers last season. Carolina released him back in May, so now he's looking for a new team. He's 32 years old and a 3-time Pro Bowler. Today, Shoddy was asked about bringing in Clowney.
Well, I could go back to Seattle days. I was with him there. Guy's, you know, really good football player. He's missed playing the game a little bit, and the film obviously looks good. And you know, we're always in the business of, you know, seeing what's out there and keeping an eye on all good football players. But I would say the personal relationship I have with him, the problems I know he can create both in the run and the pass, is the main reason he's here.
Shoddy added that the boys are just doing their homework. As of now, there's no deal between the Cowboys and Clowney. In the Houston Texans' 14-9 season opening loss at the Rams, the Texans were penalized 11 times for 80 yards. Left tackle Cam Robinson was called for holding on the Texans' first offensive snap to open the game, wiping out a 6-yard completion from Stroud to Schultz. 3 plays later, they were called for a delay of game. Head coach D'Amico Ryans was asked if they can do anything in practice to help prevent penalties.
Guys, most of the time when the penalties happens, it's about, you know, poor technique. So if your hands are too high, when we don't coach hands high, your hands are supposed to be low. You just need to kind of refocus yourself on actually doing and training yourself mentally and physically to do it exactly how we're coaching it to do. Right, then you don't have penalties when it comes to hands to the face mask type penalties, holding type penalties, making sure you're in a proper stance, making sure you're playing with low pads. Again, and if you play the right way, then you eliminate some of those just by playing with good technique and fundamentals.
The Texans will host the Buccaneers on Monday night.
Thank you.
Yep.
KSAT Explains is up next.
We want to let you know about an area that's seeing some traffic right now. If you're at home waiting for anybody that travels westbound on Highway 90, you're going to want to know about this.
Yeah, so the camera's here at Highway 90 at 36th Street. You're looking back towards General McMullen. It's right there on the access road as cars are converging onto Highway 90. An already packed highway at this hour anyway, so you can see we got some lane closures, traffic doing its best to kind of merge around all of this. But something to watch here, 90 at 36th Street, the westbound lanes. We got a big backup.
Earlier tonight, we told you about a Bexar County man who was accused of possessing more than 30 grams of fentanyl.
So you might be wondering what fentanyl is exactly and why is it so dangerous? In this KSAT Explains, we head to the DEA lab in Dallas, where pills laced with fentanyl have come in by the thousands.
Pharmaceutical fentanyl is a Schedule II drug that is typically used in hospitals to treat pain.
It's mostly used as a medication to really rapidly deliver pain relief to someone while they're in the operating room. It's usually given as like an infusion.
It can come in patch form.
it is one of the fastest acting opioids that we know. It acts within like 1 to 2 minutes.
There is no pill form.
We told you about a mother who feared her 17-year-old daughter died of a fentanyl overdose. The medical examiner's toxicology report confirmed that news.
Federal officials are sounding the alarm over an increasing number of fake prescription pills that contain potentially deadly fentanyl.
All of the federal drug evidence that comes from Texas, Oklahoma, or New Mexico comes into this DEA laboratory. We're looking to see what the sample contains, so whether it's methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, or fentanyl.
The fentanyl that we're seizing, it's coming from Mexico. It's being smuggled into our communities by these Mexican drug cartels. They're making it look legitimate in a manner to appear to be Oxycontin, Percocet, Adderall, and other prescribed drugs. Drug traffickers that work in these clandestine labs that are making these fake pills. They are unaware of how much fentanyl they're putting into these pills.
Right now we're seeing the majority of the pills, but we also see it in powder form as well as compressed powder.
Is there any way for anyone to tell just by looking at a pill or a powder whether it contains fentanyl?
No. And that's what makes it so dangerous.
This seizure came into the lab while we were here today. An estimated 30,000 pills out of the El Paso area ready to be tested. This amount, what's in this vial, is 2 milligrams. That is a potentially lethal dose of fentanyl.
The same test that we use for fentanyl, we use on other drugs too that we test. This is a typical fentanyl case that we got. This is a 1 kilogram of M30 tablets. They're made to look like oxycodone tablets. You can see that there's an M printed on one side and a 30 on the other side.
Take a look at the pictures. Can you tell the difference between the fake pill and the real pill? No, you cannot. This is a fake pill. And that's the problem.
And they're typically about 2 milligrams of fentanyl in the tablets. And 2 milligrams is a really small amount. For instance, this is 2 milligrams of fentanyl in there.
Oh wow, you can barely see there's anything even in there.
Correct. So that amount of fentanyl is in each one of those tablets. One of the tests we do is a quick rapid test called the amino assay. And it looks for the specific fentanyl metabolites that are found in human urine. So we only need a little bit of the sample to do that. Just take a few milligrams of it, put it in test tube, and then we mix it with water. So these are the amino assay tests. They're kind of like pregnancy tests. You're looking for the specific antigen, fentanyl antigen in that. The water is traveling up the sample stick. Once the metabolites interact with the antigens, you'll see a line. If we see one line on the C, that means it's positive.
So you said this is not unlike a pregnancy test?
Right,
It looks similar to an at-home COVID test.
Exactly. So we have to use our instruments to positively identify it, but this is just a rapid test to determine if those tablets might contain fentanyl. And there we go. So our sample matches that of the positive control. So we know that that tablet probably has fentanyl in it.
It appears as though it could be candy. And the drug dealers are utilizing rainbow fentanyl to reach our kids. It's more of an attraction.
Therapeutically, it's 100 to 200 times more potent than morphine. We are seeing already like many overdoses happening in high schools. There is less time, I would say, to save them than if they were to overdose on any other opioid. But that still doesn't mean that you can't save them. 100% going to work if you have it. But if you don't have it, then it's going to be too late.
You're putting your life at risk by taking a pill that has not been prescribed to you. One pill can kill.
Don't forget, you can watch all of our episodes of KSAT Explains on a range of topics for free. Scan the QR code there on your screen, and that will take you to our streaming library.
Stay right where you are. After the break, we'll talk about this. The Wonder Theater is turning into a 19th century circus in this production of Sweeney Todd. And you're going to get an exclusive sneak peek right after the break. It is called one of the darkest musicals ever written. Sweeney Todd, the story of the revenge-seeking Victorian barber, is on stage at the Wonder Theater. The musical is usually set in 19th century London, but the Wonder Theater's cast found a new way to tell this sinister story. Our Andrew Wilson got a behind-the-scenes look.
Your typical Sweeney Todd musical is set in 1800s. So instead of your typical London, streets of London type of setting of the show, we set it in a circus. You could say it is still set in London, but it's in almost like a dark, macabre circus.
The version that we're doing, it dives deeper into concepts that we don't really see acknowledged as much in the other productions, so really finding who we want our characters to be in this world that we're building rather than what everyone else has done.
This is a phenomenal cast of performers, some of the best in San Antonio. Working with this group of people can really allows us to really bring out the artistry that is in this production.
There is a creepiness to the show, but there's also a lot of really joyful comedy to it, and I think that's something that our director has really played into and picked up on, is that, you know, in ordinary life, while we still have sinister things happening, there is comedy there, and we've really tried to embrace that in this production. So you're gonna get some laughs, you're gonna get some moments that you're freaked out or, you know, uncomfortable, but, you know, we ask you to just sit back and enjoy the ride and see what it has to offer.
Okay, that looks like it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, I've never
intrigued.
actually seen it on stage. I've only seen the movie.
Okay.
You know?
Well, this was
my opportunity.
I was just looking it up. So it plays there until September 21st. So you still have time to buy tickets.
Yeah, and seats are selling fast, so head to KSAT.com for information on all the show times. Now here's another event you don't want to miss. Scan the QR code here to get tickets for the second annual Texas Eats Food Festival. It is Saturday, September 20th at the Boeing Techport Center. Anyone who goes will be able to try food from 20 top restaurants from across Texas, all prepared by Michelin and James Beard Award-winning chefs.
Yummy. You can see a full list of restaurants and chefs that will be participating. We have that list for you on our website, KSAT.com. We also want to let you know that a portion of the proceeds for this event will benefit the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. And by the way, that is an indoor event.
Yes.
No need to worry about the weather.
I was just talking about how my stomach was growling.
Food.
I know,
Meat.
right?
Meat.
All right, look outside with live cam, Adam. But KSAT Connect kind of led us to an interesting explanation from our weather team.
Yeah, and I'm going to dive into this in more detail, but we had a dust devil spotted near the airport yesterday. These are actually more common than you think. It's a little isolated swirl that can be mistaken for a mini tornado. It's not a tornado. They're harmless typically. Actually, almost all the time they're harmless. But they happen quite often across Texas. I mean, sometimes you drive I-10 west into West Texas, and I'll count half a dozen dust devils at once off in the distance. We'll talk about why this formed the other day. Coming right. A dust devil, common phenomena around here, especially, well, in the summertime, really only in the summertime, but especially 2 summers ago when we had 75 triple-digit days when it was extra hot. I'd noticed these more so around the local quarries. It was also more noticeable around the quarries because of the dust in those quarries, but this was just yesterday now. The dust devil, basically, think of it this way. The sun, it beats down onto the ground, which then radiates that warmth into the air. And that's what gives us basically our warm temperatures every afternoon. But in the summer months and in the hot days, this forms a little mini low pressure system here at the ground. And eventually a little circulation is going to form as, per physics, the air flows into that low pressure system, and then the flow around it starts to speed up a little bit and accelerates. Then that continued heating and the circulation in there and the inflow of air, it causes this mini dust devil. Usually they just last anywhere from 5 to 20 seconds in town, sometimes longer out in West Texas. And the only reason we see them is because they pick up dust that's on the ground, or sometimes leaves and things, insects and things like that. But that's how they form. And again, they're actually pretty common around here, especially in the heat of summer, in July, August, and in the hotter than average summers. So we talked about this earlier. Today, the average, or I should say the average peak of the hurricane season, at least in the Atlantic Basin, which includes the Gulf of Mexico, but it's very quiet, abnormally quiet out there. There's one little ripple in the upper level flow that's soon to come off the west coast of Africa that has a 20% chance of developing into the next tropical cyclone. So even then, it's on the low end. Now, Saharan dust can inhibit the development of tropical systems. There's a decent amount out there, and there has been most of the summer. There usually is a decent amount, but right now it's way out to sea, and the main plumes are likely to stay away from us in the days ahead. We've had 6 systems so far. The last, Fernand, which was kind of a low-end system. If we get another, it'd be Gabrielle. That would be the next one in the Atlantic. A little different in the Pacific. They have a different naming, and the season is shifted a little bit differently compared to Atlantic. Anyway, take a look at what we have. Upper level high parked right overhead. High means dry, sunny, relatively warm conditions. We'll be running a little above average. The average high this time of year is 92. Notice the peak average, or is 91 now. Notice the warmest average is in August, and that's 97. So we're starting to be on that downward trend. Takes a while to get there, but we're starting to make that turn, at least climatologically, where the average high is on the downswing. Our high today was 1 degree above average at 92 across the state, mostly in the 90s. Right now at 92, dew point of 54 though. So dry air in place, which makes the 90s a lot more tolerable, and not much of a breeze out there, actually a calm wind at the airport. Bernie now 88, Pleasanton 95, Stinson Airport on the south side at 95, Converse 94. Quickly falling down through the 90s as the sun sets. Then in the 80s, and tomorrow morning, close to 70 within Bexar County. So the 60s, at least for now, the sunrise in the 60s in the rearview mirror. It'll come back. We just need some patience, but mornings will be a little bit warmer going forward. Tomorrow afternoon, we're in the mid-90s, and then it's really just copy and paste and same old for several days. We'll be right back after the break.
All right, the squeals and the smiles were so good the first time. I want to see it again with the Spurs in the Hill Country.
Yes, let's hear more of that. Larry Ramirez is going to join us now with a little tasty taste of what's going to be on KSAT Sports Now at 7.
I like that, a tasty taste. Yeah, and the best sports story locally today, the San Antonio Spurs going up to the Hill Country to surprise students up at Ingram Tom Moore High School. Of course, trying to put smiles on their faces after the deadly flooding back in July. And these kids had a fantastic time, and the Spurs, I think they might have smiled even more so than the students themselves. Mary Rominger went up there today. She's going to file a full report on that. We're also talking UTSA and UIW football. They are getting ready to face off for the second time. They're going to do that this Saturday at the Alamo Dome. We're going to hear from both sides. We're talking big game coverage as well. It is week 3 already. And our game of the week this week, we'll see Brandeis taking on the Steel Knights out at their home field. And both these teams are ranked in the top 5 in 12's top 12 Class 6A. So we're going to hear from both sides. And we've also got our first scholar athlete of the brand new school year. This is one of our favorite segments. It is coming up tonight at 7 o'clock on KSAT Sports Now.
That is all our time here on the news at 6. We appreciate you watching.
And we'll see you right back here for the night feed. Have a nice dinner.